When a beloved show comes to an end and a little bit of time passes, fans usually have some kind of realization in the middle of their day that's along the lines of, wait just a minute, they never followed up on that minor plot point from season 1! The nerve of them! Now, when it comes to the Owl House, obviously there are going to be a lot of unanswered questions and unresolved plot points, because it was cancelled halfway through season 2, forcing them to condense the ending into 3 specials. Usually when a story-driven toon wraps up, I like to run through all of these unanswered questions and missed potential, because apparently I can't ever be satisfied. But this time something beautiful happened before I could make this video. We actually got all the unanswered questions through a little web show that the homie Rebecca Rose runs with Cece Jones and Sarah Nicole Robles. Post Hoot, an Owl House live show. With Watching and Dreaming finally out into the world, Dana Terrace hopped on an episode to spill all the tea. So let's break down this Post Hoot and divide all the Q&A into 3 sections. Unanswered questions, what could have been, and fun facts. Was Evelyn really related to Ida? What happened to Odalia? And what's up with the Bat Queen? Grab a snack, drink some water, and find out. To kick things off, let's tackle the biggest question. Number 1, a sequel? As of this Post Hoot, there are no plans for a sequel at the moment, but Dana would like to work on more Owl House content in the future.
We can hope.
We can hope. We can always hope.
It would be fun to do more, but that would also require the studio to allow us to do more. They own the IP.
Now, I said it twice and I'll say it again. 3rd time's a charm. Disney giving the Owl House more content is only a matter of time. Gravity Falls got journal number 3 in Lost Legends. Amphibia got Marcy's journal, with another book possibly on the way. And those are just the books that came out after those shows ended. Not to mention, Phineas and Ferb got a new movie 5 years after it ended, with new episodes dropping next year. Let that sink in. We are getting new Phineas and Ferb 9 years after the show originally ended. Now, Phineas and Ferb is a juggernaut all on its own. Like, don't crucify me for saying this, but it's definitely bigger than the Owl House. That's not some measure of quality or anything. I'm not saying one is better than the other. The 2 shows honestly aren't even comparable. It's just kinda how it is. Phineas and Ferb was the right show at the right time. Besides, it took years for it to get picked up somewhere. So whether if it's in a year, 5 years, or even 10 years, I'm confident we'll get more Owl House in some form. Number 2, fellow content creator The Third Bill was spot on about something with Hootie, but Dana didn't elaborate.
A lot of questions about the Hootie coming out of Papa King's eye, or Papa Titan's
eye. Anyway, The Third Bill, you got it right.
This refers to Bill's Hootie hole theory, where he tried to figure out what exactly Hootie is. Because Hootie's placement on the door to the Owl House is identical to the eye of the portal door. I encourage all of you to check out Bill's Hootie hole theory for the full context, but I do think it's very likely that Hootie was a tapeworm that emerged from the Titan's eye. Horrifying, yet intriguing. Number 3, I mentioned this in my breakdown for Watching and Dreaming, but it's confirmed that Rain's talisman is their violin, meaning we saw it from their very first episode. Now yes, Rain did smash her violin while attempting to stop Bellows from reaching the Titan's heart, but luckily it got repaired by Hunter and Dell prior to the epilogue. So no, this isn't a new talisman they have. It's the same one. Number 4, Luz was motivated to finish high school on Earth because she knew she could pop on over to the Boiling Isles at any time.
Oh, I mean, high school, she finished out high school in her human school, you know. I mean, she still
her. I would be like, no way.
But, I mean, when you have the renewed motivation that, like, oh, I'm gonna go to this sick place afterwards, she put
in the work.
Like, even if, like, high school could still be difficult, like, you don't just magically suddenly have a good time in high school one year. Sometimes it's just difficult throughout. And, like, Luz, maybe it got gradually better for her, but having a safe space for her to go to.
Yes, and a family outside of it.
Family outside of it. I think that made the difficult aspects of high school much more bearable. I know that's the case. Camille bought the shack so that they could be attached to the portal so Luz could go to school, and while Luz was finishing high school in the human realm, she could, holidays and weekends and etc. She could visit everyone she loves.
That is very cute.
Very happy Luz got to have the best of both worlds. Literally. And speaking of the shack, number 5. As assumed by many people, the shack is Philip and Caleb's old home, originally abandoned after they went missing in the demon realm, but it got slightly fixed up by Ida as she built the owl house. I did speculate after thanks to them that maybe this house could have been Evelyn and Caleb's, a little earth owl house, given that the map to the Titan's blood was hidden in the home, which Bellows didn't know about. But being Caleb and Philip's home has always made perfect sense. I assume Ida was brought here the first time she ran through the portal door. Number 6. Why did Bellows refer to Flapjack as Evelyn? Well, he viewed Flapjack as the reason why everything happened in the first place. After all, the brothers Woodabane hinted that Caleb met Evelyn because of Flapjack. Crazy how all of this started with a talisman, when Bellows ultimately relied on talisman to survive. Number 7. Let's get into some Evelyn lore.
Evelyn, perhaps disguised as a human, hiding her ears, just being like, oh, what's this place about? Might have been like, you seem like a reasonable young man, unlike most people in this place. You seem a little less violent than everyone.
Probably not going to burn me at the start.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know, like, yeah, I like to think that Evelyn and Caleb's relationship was very sweet from, like, the beginning of a platonic curiosity to eventually being romantic.
And as we all figured out, Evelyn is a Clawthorn, an ancestor to both Ida and Lilith. But they don't know that, nor does Hunter.
Ida does not know. Hunter does not know. And the rest of what I have in my head, I will not say.
Okay.
Evelyn is one of the most interesting characters in the Owl House, and we barely even have a design for her. I really hope any future installments of the series gets to explore her character. There's time portals on the Boiling Isles. There's literally no reason why it can't happen. Number 8. If you're wondering if Ida was known as the Owl Lady because of her curse or her identity, it was because of her curse. Albert came into the picture afterwards, who she carved with her dad's help to embrace her identity. Dana actually has an outline of an episode about this in her head. Would love to see it someday. Number 9. The eye on the portal is the Titan's missing eye.
Does the eye on the portal come from Papa Titan's missing eye?
Gee. Yes.
Many people speculated this after watching and dreaming, and it's an idea I thought was fun, but wasn't exactly feasible. Doesn't matter though, it's canon. Now, Dana, on the off chance you're watching, I say this with respect and admiration. Be for real right now. Be honest. That just doesn't make sense. Not only has his eye been shown cracked, implying it was some glass-like property, but we saw that Philip got to the demon realm after the Titan was a carcass with no eyes. And we can say he used the eye for the Titan's blood, but the blood was also in the key, and that couldn't have been another eye. That one is obviously man-made. So how does this one get a pass? Furthermore, although the Titan's eye is smaller than his socket, he is still way too massive for his eyeball to end up on this normal-sized door. Be for real right now. It may be canon, but I don't accept it. Respectfully. Number 10. Amity and Lilith rekindled their student-mentor relationship during the time skip, and Amity took interest in Lilith's knowledge of history. I do wish we got to see the two interact more after season 1, especially when Lilith did end up working at the library. But it's comforting to know they have a healthier relationship after everything was said and done. Number 11. If you're wondering about the Collector siblings, the Archivists, Dana can't say much about them. It's going to be one of those secrets she keeps close to the chest in case they get to make more Owl House someday. And I'm fine with that. Keep people guessing. Keep them theorizing, and they'll remain engaged with this world. Number 12. The Collector didn't have a time skip design because he ages much slower than everyone else. He would just be slightly taller, which I think a lot of people expected, as I see that kind of design in a lot of fan art. Number 13. The Collector constantly visits the Boiling Isles and has formed a genuine strong friendship with King. You love to see it. Number 14. Hooty doesn't have to be detached from the Owl House if he doesn't want to. When the door isn't active, he can be present. But he's busy as a curator for his new museum anyhow. Dana also imagines that the new portal can probably fold up.
Number 15.
After fans recognized Ida and Rain swapped earrings in the epilogue, people began to question did the two lovebirds tie the knot. As it turns out, Rain and Ida didn't get married yet. But Rain did move into the Owl House.
Oh yeah, no. Keep asking, are Rain and Ida married?
Rain and Ida's business is their business.
I love that.
I will say not all love stories end in marriage. They do live in the Owl House together though. Rain moved in.
Love wins again. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for Odalia. Number 16. As expected, Alador and Odalia got divorced following the events of Watching and Dreaming. I mean, again, you can't bounce back from helping a madman plan his genocide. Actually, how is she not in prison? Anywho, Alador has custody of the kids, but they still visit her when they have the energy. AMITY, Edric, and Emera all recognize she's a toxic influence they're better off without. Good! Fuck her! Number 17. Probably my favorite revelation, but remember Ratador? That rat that looks just like Alador? Apparently, that's his palisman, which is the most hilarious thing I've heard all day. Bro, why would you model it after yourself? That's Odalia behavior. I'm just kidding. Ratador rocks.
So in the boards, I believe these boards were done by Dawn Han. She boarded the scene and he just has this pose where he's like talking to Odalia kind of like this. I immediately just thought of like Remy from Ratatouille. When we get to the scene where they're looking into Alador's lab, one of the board artists, I think it was Ben Home, he just drew in this little rat and I laughed so hard. I was just like, keep it, don't change it.
And last but not least, number 18. Who built the tower King was born in? According to Dana, it was related to a character we all know who now has amnesia. Considering the only person we know who has some kind of amnesia is the Bat Queen, I mean, she doesn't know who her owner was. I think it's safe to say it was her. And she built this tower to protect the son of her owner, Papa Titan. Easy. Alright, enough numbering this shit. I feel like I'm in a Frederator 107 Facts video. Now, let's move on to what could have been. What changed after Disney cut the series down to 3 seasons? For starters, they had another ending for the show in mind, but it required too much setup, so it got cut. Although, it could still happen in a potential sequel series down the road.
We had an ending in mind, and there's an ending that I had always wanted to do since development. If there is something in the future, I still think it could be a satisfying kind of button on the whole story.
Personally, I think this has to do with the Archivists, since they couldn't do a whole story with them while dealing with the Belos arc, and they just decided to give us a taste by introducing the Collector. I actually want to take a bigger look at this idea in a separate video. Caleb and Philip's graves were originally in the shack's basement, but it didn't necessarily fit in with everything else.
It was a cool image because it was based off of this church in New Haven that I used to walk by every day on my way to school. If you go into the basement, there is tombs, and it's very creepy.
Yeah, I don't think a basement is the best place for a graveyard, so I'm glad they changed this. Though I do wish we saw their graves and everyone fought Bunter. That would have been the perfect opportunity. There were a bunch of designs made of Belos possessing various animals, which thanks to them was only able to allude to, as it would have taken a lot of work, and I imagine S&P would have given them some shit. Dana wanted more cast interactions with each other, like AMITY and Hunter, or Rain and Luce. Both combinations only got to share brief moments of screen time with each other. I really wish we got more of Hunter and AMITY after Eclipse Lake though. There were plans to explore Gus and Willow's habit of glowing eyes, and also do it for other characters. Strong emotions are connected to magic, surprise, surprise. It was mostly world building they could have expanded on that Dana wishes she did earlier in the story. Honestly, and maybe this is just me being a huge weeb, but I feel like most people already have gotten the gist of powerful emotions translating to powerful magic, so I don't think viewers were too lost on this. And finally, the Galderstones, Coven Heads, and Bat Queen all originally had bigger roles and subplots that ended up on the cutting room floor after the cancellation. And now, let's move on to some fun facts. The entirety of Season 2A was written before the Great Shortening, meaning Follies of the Coven Day Parade was the first episode written with the shortened season in mind. And it shows, but take that as a compliment.
Everyone talks about the tonal change in Season 2, and there is a big one, but 211 is where we officially were like, well, we can't like dance around it anymore, we can't be cute about it anymore, just go full tilt.
If you ask me, Season 2B was the peak of the entire series. They did such a great job of having almost every episode transition into the next one, building up hype of cliffhangers that had me eager to see what would happen the next week, and everyone had something to do. The writing felt tighter and way more thought out than anything that came before. Seriously, I just want to stress that the writers did a great job working with the limited time they had. It's the kind of pacing and structure I think more shows need, just without cancellation looming over their heads. There weren't any full episodes that got scrapped after the shortening, just one-note ideas or scenarios on a whiteboard, which is typical for a writer's room. Pretty much the same thing happened to OKKO after they got their final season shortened. Animation studios should, stop doing that, maybe. Inspiration for Luce's talisman, String Bean, came from an upside-down logo of the show. Though this wasn't intentional from the beginning, so although fans were completely on point about Luce's talisman being in the logo, I think it's funny that the team behind the show only came to that conclusion the same way we did. Looking at the logo and going, hey, wait a minute! The Hexai student that resembles Dana in the epilogue is part of the Oracle and Peacekeeping Covens because Dana sees the future of the show and is fond of animals. A big revelation that fans have been ecstatic over is that Hunter is bisexual and Willow is pansexual. But Dana does acknowledge the concept of death of the author, in that an author's intention should hold no special weight in determining an interpretation of the writing. But at the same time, Hunter straight up had a bi patch on his shirt and thinks to them, and you can't tell me that Willow didn't have a crush on Amity when they were kids. So none of this really surprises me. Rebecca asked if Amity and Hunter would have a sibling dynamic, and surprising no one, the answer is yes. Lots of designs for Luce's stuff were made, specifically how to figure out how hollowed out her head should be before dissipating. Yeah, I guess that counts as a fun fact. I didn't know where else to put this. Cece Jones was only giving her lines during recording, but never knew the full story of the finale until it aired, as a result of the pandemic, and had to rely on voice director Eden Regal's hints for context. I heard this was pretty common for the Owl House in general. Actors were only given their lines and nothing more, which, even if not intended, was a good countermeasure for spoilers. Though, if I was a voice actor, it would have killed me to not have the full experience of recording alongside the storyboards. It's not a practice every production adheres to, but it sure is the one that sounds the most fun. The Collector was always an idea they had in mind, but only really went with after the shortening. Makes sense, since they always had the Archivist in mind. And for a last-minute addition, I'm glad they gave Collector a pretty big role. It's impressive. Alright, I'm not even gonna pretend that this fact is fun, but it was easier for Sarah to voice depressed Luce in season 3 since she was also depressed. The writers preferred to put their feelings into the show versus a more happy-go-lucky approach, like how Amphibious team wanted to make season 3A a bit more lighthearted to cope with the pandemic. It was kind of dark for the Owl House crew for a bit, especially during quarantine. Sarah felt that her own experience was validated with Luce's depression, but she and Dana appreciated the balance of having a happy ending too. What made the crew hopeful was knowing the characters would always have a happy ending. Luce could continue her studies in full force with a new family. They knew it would end happy. Dana acknowledged how the fandom misinterpreted her statement on how she hated the term happy endings. And last but not least, the whole cast was brought back to record the final "bye" line at the end. So Hootie did have dialogue in the finale. You can just barely hear it. And that's about everything. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts. What do you think? How do you feel about this Post Hoot? Were there any questions you wanted answered that weren't? Did any of these revelations shock you? Does it make sense for the eye on the portal door to be the Titan's eye? No. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and keep the conversation going over at Roundtable Vids and at AltrickVox on Twitter and Instagram. Check out Toondrip for some dope Owl House inspired merch, and if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day. See ya!